Dealing with Drought is brought to you exclusively by Zematic by Lindsay. Tough, durable center pivot irrigation. Visit lindsayadvantage.com.
The drought of 2012 led national news headlines and haunted farmers across the U.S. In our continuing Dealing with Drought series, national reporter Tyne Morgan gives us a glimpse into the weighing effects on livestock production.
Good morning, Clinton. Yesterday, we painted the picture of the toll last year's drought had on row crops. While it hurt, safety nets like crop insurance helped ease the pain. For livestock producers, however, crop insurance doesn't exist. And with no type of disaster assistance, the hurt is still there today. The drought proved too much for countless acres of row crops to handle last year. As farmers were forced to watch their dying crops starve from no moisture, livestock producers saw the writing on the wall.
The margins right now are negative. They've been negative all summer. Losses, up to $200 and $300 a head.
2012, combined with the drought in 2011 that gripped much of the plains, created losses so steep. And liquidation became some producers' only option.
As pastures become more in worse conditions, forage becomes a little bit tighter, producers are basically forced into the decision of culling heavier than they normally would.
According to USDA's January cattle inventory report, the nation's calf crop has now dwindled to the smallest level since 1949.
Cow-calf operation is the engine behind the beef industry, and if you are not producing the calves, you're not going to have your engine of your industry revved up and going.
The situation proved too much for even meat processors to handle. Cargill announced in January it would have to temporarily close its Plainview, Texas plant until ranchers were able to rebuild their herds. The pasture wasn't any greener for hog producers like Todd Wiley. Last October, he'd crunched the numbers to prepare for the tough road ahead.
When I take all the numbers and put them together, we're losing right at $57 per pig today.
Just like the cattle industry, producers were forced to make a difficult decision.
For many operations, they're pulling back into what you'd call survival mode, where they may be using, cutting back on their sow numbers and holding things back as much as they can, because they know for every hog that they're producing, they're going to be losing a tremendous amount of money.
Despite heartaches in the record books, Wiley says tough times have helped pork producers be resilient.
I think for the most part, we're better managers than we were. I think for the most part, we take care of business down the road a little bit further than we used to. And so I'm hopeful that the damage, while it's going to be excruciating while it happens, I'm hopeful that it's going to be relatively short term.
According to the Ag Department, half of all livestock production in the U.S. was located in severe or worse drought. The department says poultry farmers were the least likely to be in areas affected by the drought. However, turkey producer Katie Altoff was right in the middle of drought-stricken Iowa.
We've tried really hard to minimize our inputs in other areas and tried to be very efficient and use the best management practices that we can to make sure that we have big, healthy birds going to market, and then that's going to help minimize any losses for us.
Some elements were out of her control, like the scorching heat.
Overnight, one night, we lost 5% of one flock, which is a pretty huge loss for us overnight. It's because it didn't cool down overnight and the heat was just really hard on them.
Overall, the livestock outlook continues to be dampened by high feed costs and lower production. The latest NASA report shows total cow-calf numbers are down nearly 2%. States like Texas, Oklahoma, and Missouri continue to see depleting herd sizes. Ellis says it could be 2016 at the earliest before normal enters back into beef supply conversations.
If we were to have good years from here on forward, I would not expect us to have an increased calf crop, meaning an increased number of cows giving birth, until 2015.
So Clinton Shaner says it could be 2016 or even 2017 before we see the slaughter numbers and then meat supplies, beef back up, no pun intended.
What about liquidations of cattle? Are we going to see that continue this year?
Well, there's still mixed reviews on that, but we'll actually touch on that tomorrow in our third and final series on Dealing with Drought.
All right, sounds good.